Hello, YouTube. Is the end game here? And does Jerome Powell want stocks down? Because, oh my goodness, it has been volatile even into the close. So, what exactly did Jerome have to say? And what the hell happened with this upper wick here today? 453.46, which means apparently from low to high today, we rallied up by more than 20 points. So, people in the description have been telling me that we're going to get to 450. Well, it appears like we got it. There was likely a dark pool print, which actually got that. So Jerome Powell signals that the Fed is open to 2 more straight rate hikes at the coming meetings. He also said that I don't see us getting back down to 2% this year or next year. I see us making progress. So this right here is pretty much exactly what we were expecting from Jerome. He spoke, and the market did two things today. It actually went for a breakout, got above yesterday's high at 436.81. But then into, let's see if this chart here is all messed up too. Our actual high of the day today was 437.44. So technically, we don't have this massive upper wick. We failed to get back over that high. But into after hours here, we are rocketing. So on this last 10-minute bar into 350, which is when the market gets spicy, we rallied up by over 1 point. So that's what happened today. Let's go through the rest of the news and see if there is anything we want to be particularly mindful of. And I say that because we know that Jerome Powell came in today. He's going to be coming in again tomorrow afternoon. And I'm recording this just after 4 o'clock, which means that we don't quite have the Fed stress test out yet. But I think that's something the market's going to be paying attention to. All right, let's go forward. So we got Jerome tomorrow. And then we got inflation numbers coming in on Friday. So there we go. Told us we're not going to get down to 2%, which means he thinks higher for longer. Is the market starting to finally price in what the Fed has said? Well, I think a lot of this is not going to be fully evident until we get to the end of the month and the end of the quarter, because window dressing is still here, which is why we still see dips being bought. If we look here to a very simple chart, we're going to look here to the level at 432, which corresponds with 431.73 or that August high, and also a Fibonacci area at 430. But let's look at a 1 hour chart, because we note that we based here and then just pushed off. And we're getting a push-pull here off that 50 MA. A little bit below, a little bit above, but all dips got bought. And the interesting chart to me for today is actually this one. We're looking here to the E-mini futures. And I shared this with our group. So if you want to see all these notes after we sign off YouTube, you can join us for 14 free days to trade with me, Justin from YouTube, by going to thealgo.com or the comment in the description. I noted we were starting to form a cup. We started to form a handle. And by holding on to 44.10s, I thought the handle could lead to upside. So what happened today? Well, every time we dipped below 44.10 down to 43.99, 43.99.75, 4,400.75, we basically got higher lows and lots of wicks every time we poke below 44.05, which means that the bulls seem ready to buy. The question is, are we just doing defense going into the quarter, or are they actually going to be ready to punch it up? So that is the big question for us right now. Ever since we broke our channel, we price discovered to a new range, and now we're going sideways. All right, so we got all this stuff out of the way. Let's move forward. All right, so the next thing I want to look at here is going to be actually popping over here to Apple. So we looked at Apple yesterday, making new all-time highs, record close again today. Nvidia got a hit in after hours yesterday and actually recovered a lot of it today. And what happened was that we heard about potential curbing of chip sales to China, specifically AI chips, which is what Nvidia does. So what did we do? Well, we know the high, we're looking back here to the 30th of May, is 419.38. What's our high today? 418.45, which is going to be a lower high by about $1 versus yesterday. So all that means is that we made it to resistance yesterday, that 419 area. We tried to do it again today, didn't quite get there. But here's the interesting part. This was pretty negative news. We were down by about 3% in after hours yesterday, so about 3%. And now we're closing the day out here down by about half as much, or about 1.8%. So what's going to be so interesting for me is that if Apple is leading and we're waiting for another stock to follow, like Microsoft, like Amazon, like Tesla, this right here is going to be very important with Nvidia, because if we look here to another key area, we also have that high from our earnings. And right now, I believe we're going sideways inside of this range. So if we get a decisive break or a candle close back above 419.41 or below 394.8, I believe that is going to be the next range. Right now, we do have to also note we have a downtrend here, which means that we have a descending triangle, which usually leads to downside. All right, so we got that one out of the way. Let's go through these trillion-dollar companies one by one because these are really what's telling the story right now. And I'm going to ask you for a huge favor. I forgot to do it earlier. If you could please consider smashing the thumbs up and subscribing to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Thanks so much ahead of time. All right, Apple, new high, new record high, new record close. Boom. Looking here to Microsoft, right around that 12-month chart high we're looking at here. So this is going to be the 2021 close, 2022 open, and we're right back here. So Microsoft isn't quite sure. What I'm looking here, what I see here when I look objectively is some kind of head and shoulders, unless we're able to get back above that 336 area. We're really sucking up all the liquidity in the zone. Google bounced off the 50 DMA, looking pretty good. Higher low, higher high versus yesterday, and bouncing off that 50. Amazon really starting to go sideways here. If we look at a line chart, we're going to note that it's really flattening out. So just watching for the next move. It's pretty strong, pretty close to 52-week highs. We just talked about Nvidia. Meta, same kind of thing, just kind of going sideways here, melting, and got an upgrade today from Citigroup. Tesla, very similar here. So we note that we've made it over. Actually, we're looking for the real bodies here. I'm not sure how that line got moved, but back above about 435, we note that if it wants to keep going, like if we're about $100 off the next real body here at about 350. So watching that area awfully close here for Tesla. Also notable that we have a golden cross here. Is that going to lead to more upside, more booms, or is it the end game for stonks? All right, let's go through a couple more quick charts. And I say that because as we look here to our weekly chart, let's just make sure we got the right ones here. Looking at some like RSP, we talked about this one yesterday where it made a higher low into the week. So what we were able to do was actually defend the low from the breakdown from last week. We got back over, formed a higher high, and now it is throttling that high here. So I'd like to see RSP actually break out to potentially drag more stocks higher. The Dow here is starting to not do very much. It's up by about 0.5% on the week. And then looking here to IWM, looks similar to RSP. It is back over its 200 weekly moving average after bouncing off the 50 weekly at 181. So we're just waiting for direction. And SMH, same kind of thing, failed breakdown. And after that, we're not quite making it to a new high. But Micron did just report earnings after the bell and was up about 4% last time I checked. ARC, all the way back up to the high. So we got a breakdown last week, and now this looks very similar to RSP and other charts we've just been looking at. Finally here, we got the New York Stock Exchange. We got the breakdown last week. We got a higher low and we have a lower high, which means we have an inside bar or indecision, which means not sure which way we're going to go. So as we're starting to wrap up here, what I want you to think about is just going to be whether or not we have charts that are looking strong. So we know we got a breakdown last week, but now a lot are right around that relative high. And whether or not you would expect this to continue into tomorrow and Jerome and beyond. Because looking at these weekly charts, like even though there is some damage by printing lower highs and lower lows, not a lot of them look soft. Yesterday, we did note that XLV might be leading the market, and right now it is right back down to its low from last week with a lower high and a lower low. So is that going to drag down the market? Or are people just dumping healthcare because it hasn't performed well in the last 3 months? Utilities, same thing. Below last week's low, second week of lower highs and lower lows, and below the low. Looking here to financials, so that stress test coming out in about 15 minutes is going to be very, very important. And Jerome's comments are at least stabilizing financials right now. Looking here to the DAX, it's also stabilizing after a failed breakdown. And then finally, looking here to FXI, it's up by about 2% on the week, starting to snap back after a 7% decline last week. Emerging markets, looking soft, only up by about 0.7%, but it also has an inside bar. It is below, let's go back to EEM. It is below the low from the breakdown, though. That's going to be here at 39.82. So we went through a lot of stonks, and let's have a look at a couple more. The dollar is unsure what it wants to do. It's in a head and shoulders. It is no longer trending up, but it's actually carving out some higher lows here. So it's green on the week by about 0.1, notably on the comments from Jerome and from the ECB earlier today. We can also look at the 2-year note, really just going sideways. So it's not really, it's already kind of priced in. Jerome saying higher for longer, but it's not really taking that fresh leg up. So we're going to be watching all of those. What I want to leave you with, though, is going to be a note to think about whether or not. So again, the title's meant to get you to click on the video. Is this the end game? What's going on here? There are clearly some big games being played. And if you want to learn more, I encourage you to watch the weekend review, which is now queued up here on the left-hand side. If not, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks again.